In the Bible, there are rituals and traditions rich in sacred significance, yet few know that the story of Corpus Christi holds a profound meaning and a deeply emotional journey. Have you ever wondered where the origins of the Corpus Christi festival began, and why it has such a profound impact on the spiritual lives of millions of believers around the world? Let's explore this mysterious and enigmatic story together as we delve into the formation, meaning, and significance of Corpus Christi in the Bible. The story is not just a part of religious history, but also a profound lesson on faith, sacrifice, and loyalty to one's beliefs. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from our channel, where we bring inspiring and profound insights into the Bible and faith. The story takes place in 1263, when Europe was divided between strong beliefs and harsh religious practices. In a northern city of Italy, there was a priest named Peter, who was going through a deep crisis of faith. He began to doubt the true presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, a fundamental belief in Christianity, which caused his heart to ache. Determined to find answers and restore his faith, he decided to embark on a pilgrimage to Rome, the eternal city, where holiness and reverence could provide answers to his inner turmoil. During that time, many religious followers made pilgrimages to the tombs of the apostles St. Peter and St. Paul in Rome, hoping to find an increase in faith and noble grace. Thus, Father Peter from Prague began his long journey across many lands seeking clarity in his faith. During his journey, he decided to stop in the town of Bolsena, famous for its veneration of St. Christina, a virgin and martyr from the 3rd or 4th century. This town, with its vast and beautiful lake, had witnessed many religious events, creating a sacred atmosphere. Saint Christina, known as the Saint of Misfortune, endured numerous brutal tortures for her faith. Born into a pagan family, she chose Christianity at a young age, despite her parents' strong opposition, particularly her father, who held great power in the town. Unable to make her renounce her faith, Christina's father tortured her in every way possible and attempted to kill her. However, all his attempts to kill her failed, thanks to miraculous events. Eventually, he decided to tie a heavy stone to Christina and throw her into the Bolsena lake, hoping to end her life. But a miraculous event occurred. Instead of sinking, the stone Christina was bound with floated on the water's surface, preventing her from drowning. If you're curious to find out what happens next, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching the video. As the stone rose, St. Christina remained atop it, completely protected by divine intervention. This became a clear sign of God's protection over her in her moment of despair. Moreover, the footprints of St. Christina were deeply imprinted on the stone and remain to this day, becoming a sacred relic venerated by the faithful. These footprints are considered a miracle, a living testament to divine protection, and have become a sacred relic preserved through the centuries. Christian pilgrims from far and wide journeyed to Bolsena, seeking healing, protection, and spiritual guidance. This miraculous event caused Christina's father to fall and pass away, while Christina, though surviving, continued to face challenges, always saved by divine interventions until her death. Her tomb is located at the Church of St. Christina in Bolzano. She is believed to have been martyred around the 3rd century, and her relics remain a spiritual center that attracts many devotees and tourists, especially during the festivals honoring her. In this atmosphere filled with faith and religious devotion, Father Peter decided to hold a Mass to ask for St. Christina's intercession, hoping that this event would strengthen his belief in the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Held in the town of Bolsena, the Mass led by Father Peter witnessed an inexplicable, miraculous event. As Father Peter, still struggling with a crisis of faith regarding the Eucharist, lifted the consecrated host, a miracle occurred. The host began to bleed, the blood from the bread staining his hands and the cloth on the altar. This extraordinary event left not only Father Peter but also the attending believers astounded, witnessing the miracle with awe and reverence. Father Peter, overwhelmed by a mix of intense emotions, awe, and spiritual relief, was unable to continue the Mass. He carefully placed the bleeding host on the cloth, tears of joy and devotion rolling down his face, before continuing with the service. As he moved, drops of blood fell to the floor and the steps of the altar, leaving indelible marks. These traces would be preserved as sacred relics, a testimony to the miracle they had witnessed. News of this miracle quickly spread throughout the church, prompting other priests to come and verify the miraculous event. Everyone was deeply moved by the clear evidence of the miracle, the blood-stained cloth and the bleeding host. With a heart full of gratitude and still in a state of shock, Peter decided to take the blood-stained cloth and report the miracle directly to Pope Urban IV, who was near the town of Orvieto. Upon arriving, Peter recounted the details of the miraculous event to Pope Urban IV. Deeply moved by the story, the Pope recognized this miracle as a divine sign proving the true presence of God in the Eucharist. While listening, the Pope recalled the vision of Saint Juliana of Liège, who had a clear understanding of the need for a special feast to celebrate the Eucharist. Saint Juliana's story, full of symbolism and emotion, played a crucial role in the establishment of the Corpus Christi feast as we know it today. In the early 13th century, Juliana, a young nun just 16 years old, began experiencing mystical visions. Visions that revealed the necessity of a special feast dedicated solely to honoring the Eucharist. In one of her visions, she saw a bright white disk, but on one side of it there was a dark spot. This strange image intrigued her, and she spent many years in prayer trying to understand its deeper meaning. After a long period of reflection and spiritual discernment, Juliana finally realized that the white disk symbolized the Church and its devotion to the Eucharist. However, the dark spot represented the absence of a separate feast to fully honor the Eucharist. Although the Feast of Corpus Christi was established to celebrate the Eucharist, this feast was linked with the sorrow of the Passion of Christ. Juliana realized that Jesus desired a joyful and solemn feast exclusively for the honoring of the Eucharist. However, due to hesitation and fear, Juliana delayed for 20 years before finding the courage to share her visions with a trusted priest, Jacques Pantalon. He believed in the authenticity of the visions and encouraged her to spread her message. However, as time passed and Juliana eventually passed away, her visions seemed to be forgotten for a long period. Many years later, Father Jacques Pantalon, the only one who knew of Saint Juliana's visions, became Pope Urban IV. Upon hearing the miraculous story from Father Peter, Pope Urban IV was deeply moved and immediately recognized the significance of this miracle, thanks to his sharp spiritual intuition and the recollection of the visions that Saint Juliana of Liège had received. Saint Juliana had clearly predicted the need for a separate feast to honor the Eucharist. The Pope saw that this miracle was not only a divine sign, but also a symbol of God's presence in the Eucharist, and he decided to act immediately. To verify the authenticity of the miracle, Pope Urban IV convened a group of trusted theologians and experts, including Saint Thomas Aquinas and Saint Bonaventure. These men, renowned for their superior intellect and holiness, were sent to Bolsena to investigate the event and examine the relics. Saint Thomas Aquinas, Saint Bonaventure, and other theologians conducted a meticulous study of the evidence, analyzing the blood-stained cloth, the bleeding stone, and gathering testimony from the faithful who had witnessed the miracle. Once the authenticity of the miracle was confirmed, the committee of theologians began preparing to return to Orvieto, carrying the precious relics, including the blood-stained cloth. News of the miracle quickly spread, and as the committee left Bolsena, many faithful, moved with emotion and reverence, followed them. The crowd continued to grow as they made their way toward Orvieto, with people from neighboring villages and towns joining the procession. As the procession neared Orvieto, Pope Urban IV was informed of the success in verifying the miracle and the presence of the miraculous relics. He decided to go out and meet the procession. The Pope, along with the priests and high-ranking figures of the Church, descended from his ceremonial carriage as the faithful and theologians neared the bridge. As the procession approached the bridge, the moment became solemn and emotional. Pope Urban IV, dressed in papal robes, knelt in reverence before the Eucharist, manifested through the sacred relics. He received the blood-stained cloth and the consecrated host with reverence, then, accompanied by the procession, walked toward the city of Orvieto. This event marked a significant turning point as the first Eucharistic procession was held, eventually becoming a central part of the annual Corpus Christi feast. With confirmation from theologians and deep spiritual conviction of the miracle's significance, Pope Urban IV decided to establish a solemn feast to honor the Eucharist. In 1264, the Pope issued the Transitus Decree, officially instituting the Feast of Corpus Christi. This decree emphasized the necessity to reaffirm faith in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. The Pope viewed this festival as a means to strengthen the faith of the faithful and encourage devotion to the Eucharist. He also emphasized the role of Eucharistic miracles, such as the miracle at Bolsena, as divine signs confirming the truth of God's presence in the consecrated bread and wine. After issuing the decree regarding the festival, Pope Urban IV took steps to ensure that the new celebration would be conducted with a rich, profound, and theologically sound liturgy, aiming to rightly reflect the essence and glory of the Eucharist. The Pope summoned some of the greatest theologians of the time to compose hymns and prayers for the festival. Among them were Saint Thomas Aquinas and Saint Bonaventure, two of the greatest intellectuals of the 13th century. When it came time to introduce the hymns, all the theologians gathered in the presence of the Pope. Saint Thomas Aquinas, with his vast intellect and reverent spirit, was the first to present his work. Saint Thomas Aquinas' hymn Lauda Sion, with its exquisitely crafted verses, expressed a strong belief in the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist and the reverence due to this sacrament. The performance of Saint Thomas was magnificent and inspiring, causing all the theologians present to fall silent, deeply moved by the perfection and spirituality in his words. With humility and recognition of the brilliance of the work, each theologian tore up their own manuscripts, acknowledging that St. Thomas's hymn perfectly captured the spirit and purpose of the new feast. Thus, Lauda Sion became the official hymn of the Feast of Corpus Christi. This event not only highlighted the extraordinary theological and poetic talent of St. Thomas Aquinas, but also reflected the unity and humility of great theologians as they recognized the work that best honored the Eucharist. The first celebration of Corpus Christi, organized by Pope Urban IV, marked a profound moment of devotion and joy within the Christian community. This feast was not only an event to honor the Eucharist, but also an opportunity to strengthen faith in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. The first Corpus Christi event included a solemn Eucharistic procession, becoming the central tradition of the feast. In the procession, the Eucharist was carried through the streets in a sacred vessel, allowing the faithful to worship and honor the presence of the Lord. The city of Orvieto, where Pope Urban IV was residing, became the focal point of this celebration. The significance of Orvieto was further reinforced when the Grand Cathedral of Duomo di Orvieto was built to protect and preserve the blood-stained cloth, a sacred relic from the Bolsena miracle. This cathedral, a masterpiece of Italian Gothic architecture, began construction in 1290, a few years after the establishment of the Corpus Christi feast. With its intricately decorated facade and impressive interior, Duomo di Orvieto became a symbol of devotion to the Eucharist. The first celebration of Corpus Christi and the construction of the Orvieto Cathedral simultaneously created a lasting legacy, marking the beginning of a sacred tradition that commemorated the Bolsena miracle and the vision of Saint Juliana of Liège. These events continue to inspire and strengthen the faith of millions of believers, affirming the central role of the Eucharist in religious life. While Corpus Christi is an important event for many Christian believers, not all religions participate in this celebration. Some groups have different views on the Eucharist, rejecting the veneration of bread and wine as the body and blood of Christ, and there are differences in how this sacrament is understood and interpreted. Nonetheless, what matters most is respecting faith in God and encouraging the practice of love, compassion, and mutual respect among believers. Honoring religious diversity and striving for peace between differing beliefs are key values that contribute to creating a more tolerant world. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell to receive notifications, leave a like, and continue watching the next videos. Wishing you all the best, and may God bless you.